Alright, what's up, team? We made a sub goal on my stream where the goal was to get 200 subscribers, and I said if I get that, I will make a Mage guide. That day has come, so in this video, well, it's a series of videos. I'm going to make one separate video for each spec. I'm going to be talking about all the Mage specs, how to put your artifact points, how to put your talent points, your owner talent points, and then in the end, I was getting a lot of questions on my stream about I'm not doing enough damage, or how do you do damage? I don't really understand. So I included a part on each video in the end where I'm also gonna show you just the standard burst rotation. For some parts there's gonna be 2 burst rotations. One where you're just spamming instants basically, which is the rotation you would do if you have people on you that aren't in CC, and then the clean burst rotation, which is where you get to cast several times. It's gonna be 3 decently long videos. And I'm trying to keep it on I'm just trying to keep it, it's not an arena guide, mind you, because a lot of people might expect it to be an arena guide, so I just feel like I should say that straight off the bat. It's not going to be a this is how you play Mage Rogue versus Priest Rogue or something like that, you know. It's going to be just talents, spec, in which order do you go with everything, when is it good to change from Temporal Shield to Kleptomania, you know, things like this. And I'll also talk a little bit about the specs and how I rank them. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. What's up, guys? On this part of the video, I'm going to be discussing the fire artifact and how to put your points here. I'm getting a lot of questions whether or not they should go Flame Strike build or Fireball build, or where to put your points. So I'm just going to quickly go through that. I'm going to go through both the Flame Strike build and the Fireball build, and in the guide I'm also discussing the strengths of each build and when they're good and stuff. But this is the Flame Strike build. This is what I'm going on my Mage right now, and you just go straight up. You get Phoenix Flames, Wings of Flame. This is what you start with, and this unlocks the whole artifact for you. And then you go up here, you get Blue Flame Special, then you get the Cauterizing Blink maxed, you get this maxed, and then you go all the way up here, and what you wanted to get is the key talent called Aftershocks. This one, it doesn't actually double your Flame Strike damage, but it increases it by a lot. It's like, I don't know, 20% or something. And after that, after you've gotten these, this is the key talents right here. Once you get that, you want to go down here and get Great Balls of Fire. And the reason why you take this is because you want to get down there. This is a pretty strong artifact trait right here. So we get Great Balls of Fire, then we get Big Mouth. This is also a very, very strong talent for fire mages in PvP. You have to get the Ignite, and then you get the Phoenix Reborn, which reduces your cooldown of your Phoenix Flame when you have Ignite up. Sometimes it's a proc. And the reason why this is good is obvious, because you can get more Flame Strikes out when you're being trained. So this is sort of a must-have, a second in my opinion. And then after you've gotten that, you pretty much just want to go for the standard Fireball build. Personally, I wouldn't go for Molten Skin. I would go for Fire at Will, and then I would get Pyretic Incantation, and I would get the Fire Blast damage, because Fire Blast is actually a big part of your DPS rotation. And at this point, you're basically a Fire Flame Strike Mage, right? And then after that, you can just go for the Molten Skin. And it doesn't really matter where you put your last points. I would put 1 point in Blast Furnace, and then I would go for the Molten Skin. And then the very, very last talent will be the Scorch Earth. The reason why this one is so shit, and you take it last, is because in PvP, you don't really cast Scorch that often, guys. Most of the time, you're going to be hammering out your instant spells. You're going to be using your Fire Blast to generate Pyros. You're going to be casting Fireball with a talent called Tinder. In general, if you're playing the Fireball spec. And as Flame Strike, you would never cast Scorch, you just cast Flame Strike. So this one for both builds is the last talent that you put it in. So this is the order that you take your points in if you want to go for Flame Strike. And now, if you want to go for for the fireball build, which is the more traditional build, I guess. You want to start off the same way. Obviously, you get here, you unlock your artifact. Now, the fireball build would probably go for pyretic incantation first and foremost, and you wouldn't get blue flame special. You would get this last with this one. So I would take Wings of Flame, go for Cauterizing Blink. This is very good for the fireball spec because it increases your pyro damage, and you're just going to be hammering out fireballs and pyros. Then you get Fire at Will, which reduces your cast time, obviously. This synergizes great with this later as well. And then you get Pyretic Incantation. And then here, you got to watch out for the trap here. You don't want to keep going down here, even though Fire Blast is good. You want to, as soon as possible, go for the Great Balls of Fire, get the Big Mouth, get this, and then get down to the Phoenix Reborn. So when you're all set and done here at level 19, it should just look like a, I don't know, just like that. And then after that, you want to be spending some points here in Recognition Overdrive, get Blast Furnace, and then work your way up for the Burning Gaze. And then after that, you could take Aftershocks, but I think as Fireball spec, you're not really going to be aiming to Flame Strike that often. You're mostly going to be using Pyroblast when you have Hot Streak up as well. So it's optional. At this point, you can either take Aftershocks or go Molten Skin. I suppose most people are going to go Molten Skin here. And then after that, they get the Aftershocks, and then they fill out the last points down here. Yep, that's it for the Fireball spec. What's up, guys? So in this part of the video here, we're going to be talking about your talents and your honor talents to go for. Since there's two versions of how you want to put your Fire Mage, I'm going to go through both. I'm going to start off with my spec, the Flame Strike spec. To start it off, you can go Conflagration, but personally, I think Conflagration only for the 10% chance on Ignite to make your enemies flare up and do extra AoE damage is not really worth it in comparison with the Pyromaniac, because this one lets you do more burst. I know it sounds retarded when you talk about burst on a fucking Flame Strike Mage, but you can actually do a combo where you Flame Strike, and then after you Flame Strike, while you're casting Flame Strike, you double Fire Blast, and then you get heating up, and then you double Flame Strike at the end of the cast. So you Flame Strike, and then when the cast finishes, you immediately Flame Strike again. And if Pyromaniac also procs, then you can do a triple Flame Strike, which would do a lot more pressure, especially if people are stacked up. So for that reason, I think this talent, in general, is just a pretty good choice. It can let you counter pressure, and you just get more instants out when you're trained. I don't think Conflagration is worth it. You pretty much always go Shimmer nowadays as a mage for all specs, actually. You also pretty much always go, actually you do 100% of the time go Incanter's Flow for PvP in arenas. And then you go for Flame On. You want to get the Ice Ward. The reason why you want to take Ice Ward is because as a Flame Strike mage, you thrive when enemies are stacked up. So if you go on a healer and your whole team is standing on the healer and you're playing against some melees, and their melees are forced to go on you and peel you, then their melees are stacking up with the healer, which means that there's 3 people now to Flame Strike. So when you have 3 people to Flame Strike or 2 people to Flame Strike, it's pretty handy to have those Novas to keep those people stacked up, because once they realize you're Flame Striking them over and over, they're just gonna peace out, you know. So therefore, Ice Ward is really good, and also in 1 versus 1 against Sub Rogue, this is pretty much the only thing that actually is useful. Ice Flows is useless because if you blink, cast a poly with Ice Flows, he can just follow you with Shadow Strike and kick you. Ring of Frost is good against Druid teams, so this one is situational. And yeah, rogues are frankly fucking broken, so when you do one Frost Nova, they cloak it, but then the next one, you can do it, and if they don't have Vanish, you got them, you know? You can finally play the game. So Ice Ward definitely as the baseline talent for this spec. And then this is a key talent, Flame Patch. You always take this for Flame Strike Mage. It's a simple AoE dot on the ground when you Flame Strike. But it adds up for a lot of your damage, especially when teams are stacked up, and especially because it stays on the ground for such a long time, and your Flame Strike has only 1.25 second cast in PvP, at least mine does. So therefore you can keep it up on several occasions of the map. And your last talent is Meteor. This is for both specs in PvP. I heard you go Cinderstorm for PvE, but we don't do PvE, so we don't give a shit about that. We go Meteor, and this is the final normal talents. And then for honor talents, if you're playing Orc, by the way, this goes for all mage specs. If you're playing Orc, you want to go Relentless, Orc Relentless, Legion. If you don't play Orc though, like me, look at my undead. Oh, lag spike. I shouldn't have done that. Fuck. I opened GeForce Experience. I don't know what the fuck that was, but anyway, you go for Mind Quickness. This is also a talent that you pick for every single spec. And then you go Burning Determination. If you're against melees, at least, you go Burning Determination. Otherwise, you can go Prismatic Cloak against casters, especially against Frost Mages, because you can just blink and make him miss his spike, and he will do 0 damage that way. So this is situational, but most of the time you want to go with the Burning Determination. And then against Resto Druids, I would pick Kleptomania. In general, in rated PvP, I would pick Kleptomania, just for the reason that as a Flame Strike Mage, you end up using a lot of your mana, because Flame Strike has a pretty high mana cost. So you don't want to necessarily stand there and waste all your mana, right? If you get to cast a shit ton. And also just removing like 5 GCDs or 3 GCDs with 1 GCD is always good, especially against like Shamans to clean up the Earth Shield. Against Resto Druids and Mistweavers have a decent amount of votes. Against Priest and Paladin, I would never pick Kleptomania. And for like, let's say 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2, I would stick with Temporal Shield. So these two are situational. Dense Ice. If this made Ice Barrier undispellable, someone might pick this in PvP. But for now, I'm just going to assume that the devs were trolling when they made this. And then this is the difference here. For Fireball spec, you always go Tinder, but we're playing Flame Strike Mage. So this is the key talent. It doesn't actually reduce it by 3 seconds, because that would be crazy. I would have less than half a second Flame Strike. So I don't know, this tooltip is a little bit wrong maybe. But anyway, this one makes your Flame Strike about 1.2, 1.3 seconds in PvP. This is the key talent that actually opens up this build to even be playable. This build is garbage before you hit level 25 honor. But once you get this talent, you become very strong. And then for your final point, you always want to go with the Flame Cannon. The reason why is because the extra range just lets you stand on a safe distance and just dish out Flame Strikes. Combined with another like spellcaster, like let's say Shadow Priest, who you don't really want to leave them on their own, or maybe let's say a Boomkin or something. Combined with something like that, they can't stop both of you, and you can just stand on a safe distance and just do massive damage. And it also increases your damage, obviously. Also, another beautiful thing about Flame Cannon is that if you stand still with Flame Cannon and you're casting a Flame Strike and you blink, it doesn't count as that you moved if you're playing with Shimmer, which you should be. So yeah, that's the Flame Strike talents. So for the Fireball spec, you want to be going for Firestarter. You basically want to get the stuff that synergizes with the Fireball. I mean, this one does as well, but this is more burst in the opener, which I value highly in arenas, so that's why I go Firestarter. I think Pyromaniac is probably the better choice if you're raiding, but for PvP, we're going to go Firestarter. And then we got to go Shimmer, Incanter's Flow, you know, the standard things. And then here, some people like Blast Wave because of the slow. I say if you want to slow someone, just press Flame Strike anyway. So Flame On is pretty good. The reason why Flame On is so good is because of this scenario right here. If you go, let's say you get a heating up, and then you use Combust. If you shoot this Pyro now, you're gonna have another heating up, right? Because you have Combust up, and then you press Fire Blast, another heating up when you shoot your Pyro. I'm gonna show you how to do this fast later on like an actual target. With Flame On, you can basically reset your Fire Blast, obviously, which is gonna give you a big significant burst when you're actually popping Combust, where you can just literally spam instants. So that's why this is good. So we're gonna go with that. We go with all of these are kind of situational. For 1 versus 1, it depends, I guess. For 1 versus 1 against casters and against other mages, I would take this. For arena games against druids, I would take this. And for BGs, I would probably also take Ring of Frost. For sub rogue 1 versus 1, or if I'm playing against like a melee heavy team, it's playing like, let's say, Demon Hunter, DK or something, you know, something immobile that gets really fucked by Novas, I would go with Ice War. So these are all situational. But for baseline in solo play, I would take Ice Flows. So we'll just put it there. But since I'm not doing any arenas right now anyway. And then in this talent row, Flame Patch is, you only take that for Flame Strike, spec. You take Living Bomb for PvE. Unstable Magic gives your Fireball extra proc to do extra damage. This can break your CC, which is, you know, kind of sad, but this is the best for sure in this tier. So we'll go with that. Meteor is the way to go for both variations of the fire spec, and there you have the normal honor talent build when it's done. Normal talent build when it's done, sorry, not honor talents. This is the honor talents. The usual Orc Relentless, otherwise Gladiator's Medallion, Mind Quickness always. In here you go Burning Determination versus melee, Prismatic Cloak against caster. If it's caster, melee, healer, you probably want to go with the Prismatic Cloak. Kleptomania, good against the druids. Temporal solo play. Tinder must have for the Fireball spec. You get this talent at like honor level 8, so that's one nice thing about the Fireball spec. Now, overall in arenas, I would probably go for Flame Cannon. I think this is the best talent. This is what I would pick for just a normal 3v3 session, where just as a general talent. For 1 versus 1, like World PvP, whatever you want to call it, I would go Greater Pyroblast. This is sick. You can kill tanks in 3 hits with this. You can do a nice little combo, which I'll show you later, where you sheep, Greater Pyroblast, Meteor, Fireball, and then you pop Combust with all of that, and you can do a sick burst. So this is more of a solo play, like if you're questing or, you know, just non-rated PvP, I would guess. Because in rated PvP, I would never use this. It has too long of a cast time, to be honest with you. You're not going to get that off very often against good teams. The other challenge choice is Firestarter. This was the go-to talent on beta, but they nerfed it pretty hard. They made it from 15 seconds to 10, and then from 10 to 5. I don't think you get to cast enough fireballs to justify the damage loss here with the extra combust, and then obviously, like all mage offensive cooldowns, combust is dispellable, which can shoot you in the foot sometimes if you go this talent. So I would just play it safe and go with the Flame Cannon. Extra range is nice when people are trying to outrange you and like run away behind pillars and stuff. Lets you sometimes get an extra shot off. So we go with Flame Cannon, and that's it.
It ain't nothing like summertime in my city. At night it's pretty amazing. During the day the sun is blazing. I know plenty people trying to make it. Some just to see another day, others strive to get about that basement. Gotta elevate by any means to fulfill your dreams. This pyramid scheme got levels, you gotta get that cream. I just gotta make sure my mama, sister, and papa posted living proper with a little left over for the basic shit I need. I swear I'm good, y'all. I get $1 million, it's going back to my hood, y'all. We all eat, that's how it should go. Instead of blowing money fast, I got some niggas who po, who gave me game as a youth. A couple of niggas I owe, just trying to build something bigger for my brothers and my sisters. My vision's to build a business with all the proper intentions to get richer. In a sense, the better our senses and open our mind to use it as a gift. I'm trying to open minds, and they say I'm just a dreamer. Technically speaking, I'm stuck in between the business. It seems whether awake or sleeping, can't tell the difference. Just smoke the L, I'm about to roll a twin, can't smell the difference. Only 22, but you can tell the distance through my imprints. I've been running, trying to break buildings. Sometimes I sit back with a Buddha sack.
God, oh my fucking god. 2.8. We gotta check this guy's pulse, dude. Slash pulse. Are you alive, bro? Are you okay? Yo, you guys want to see some funny shit? Look at the shaman, okay?
I question myself, stuck in the
Look at the
same
shaman.
position, I'm depressing myself.